Hi guys and welcome to Horologique. Today we will talk about the top 10 watches for less than $100 because it is possible to have a wonderful piece of horology on your wrist for less than $100. And as we've got so many pieces to review, I'm going to go quite fast through them. Just know that I have reviewed most of these watches. You will find reviews either on a card or on the description below. So let's get on with it because we've got a lot of ground to cover. Let's start by a brand that was absolutely the best up to a few years on this price level, and of course I'm talking about Seiko, and more specifically the Seiko 5. Here with the Seiko 5 SNK 809, the little Seiko 5 military, there was the 809, but there was also the 805, which was the green one, or the 803, which was the cream one. There's even a blue one, I forget the reference. Here you're looking at a small watch at 37mm by 10.5mm with a very old movement, the little Seiko 7S26, which is at the same time the very best and the very worst aspect of this watch, because this movement, as I said, is very old, so it does not have hacking or hand winding, which is very annoying. But it is a movement which is known to last for decades, take a beating, and not requiring servicing, which is an amazing feat for a watch, for a little mechanical piece of work. At one time you could find these watches for as low as $60. Now you have to pay a little bit more than that, but I'm gonna leave the links below where you can find them on Amazon for less than $100. Number 2, let's talk about a cult classic, and this is the Vostok AMPHIBIA SCUBA dude, and this watch is really amazing. It is very appealing, flashy even some would say, with all those polished surfaces on the case and on the bracelet, but a watch that is 200 meters water resistant and that has an in-house movement. It may not be the most accurate of movements, but it is an in-house movement. You're looking at a 41mm in diameter by 15mm in height, and that height is due in part to that highly domed mineral crystal that is sure to attract a lot of scratches, but that is really thick and is not likely to break. These watches were made since the 60s, and they have a very nice story behind them, with all the feats that the Soviet engineers had to go through to produce a watch that was very cheap in big quantities and that could withstand 200 or 300 real meters of water resistance. I did a review on that watch, so go check it. I talk a little bit more about that story. The most amazing part about a Vostok is its price. You can buy, if you go to vostokinc.com, which is the factory store, or Meronome, you can find this watch for as low as $60 to $70, which is amazing for a piece of history on your wrist. At number 3, let's go to the first homage of this top 10, and I'm talking about the Pagani Design 1661, and this is a Rolex Submariner homage, one that is very well made. Pagani Design are the kings of the extra affordable homage watch, and up to now they had made watches that were good for the price, but there was always a but. The quality was so-so, the lume was very poor. Here, they did not pull out a miracle. You're not gonna get the best watch for this kind of price. By the way, the price it goes as low as $80 or around that price. And for that you get sapphire crystal, you get a ceramic bezel insert, you get a Seiko NH35, you get a deploying clasp, which is a copy of the quick adjustment that Rolex uses, and you get all that for only $80. How is that possible? I don't know, they make a lot of them. On this version, the quality seems to go a bit higher than the versions before, especially the ones that were made since the beginning of 2021. The lume, without being great, has been greatly improved in comparison to their previous versions. Here you can see my 1661 compared to the 1639-38, I believe, the Submariner homage that they had done the year before. And you can see that the lume has significantly improved. Next, let's talk about the first and only digital watch of the top 10, and it could be no other one than the Casio G-SHOCK, the Square G-SHOCK 5600. It keeps the iconic shape of the very first G-SHOCK, which came to be in 1983. The original promise of G-SHOCK was to make a watch that was able to withstand a drop from 10 meters, to be water resistant to 10 bar or 100 meters, and to have a battery that lasts 10 years. And the quartz model here comes at significantly less than $100, depending on the promotion you can find, and of course I'm going to be leaving links below. The dimensions here are 43.4 in width by 12.2 millimeters in height, which makes them big but quite wearable. Next, let's talk about a watch whose inspiration is a real legend, and I'm talking about the SKX, not the Seiko SKX, because that has jumped through the roofs price-wise, but I'm talking about the Escapement Time SKX. It is like a modded Seiko SKX actually, with sapphire crystal, BGW9 lume, and a Seiko NH35, which compared to the 7S26 of the real Seiko SKX, gives you hacking and hand winding. This is the SKX we all dreamed of. This comes at around $100 even, which is a very good price for all you're getting. Here you've got the same dimensions as the usual SKX, with that cushion case at 42.5 millimeters in diameter by 13.5 millimeters in height, and by a very small 46 millimeters in lug to lug, and of course 22 millimeters in lug width. Let's get back to Japan for a model that impressed me very much. And this is of course the Orient ALTAIR. And this is a relatively new model, and it shaves off the price of the already accessible Bambinos to be right around the $100 mark, sometimes even below. Here you've got a date complication, a day complication, both in sub-dials, and you even have a 24-hour indicator that sadly is not independent, but it serves more like an AM/PM indicator. At 39 millimeters by 11 millimeters in height, this watch will suit almost any wrist and will do it very elegantly. That is the word you can use to describe this watch. Elegant. With that very dressy face, that very nice sunburst dial, and that incredible price. Let's get back to Russia with another Vostok, and this is one that I bought very recently, the Vostok Komandirskie GMT. And this watch is tough as nails like any Vostok, but it impressed me because of two things. Of course, the first one is the fact that you've got a GMT complication. The GMT hand is enslaved to the rest of the time, and you follow another time zone by rotating the bezel. But in any case, it is a GMT watch. And the other reason for which it surprised me is because of its finishing. The finishing is very good on that watch for what Vostok has accustomed us to. I am also quite impressed by the bracelet. It is not a hair puller like the other ones before it. It is not the best quality bracelet, but it is a pretty decent bracelet with solid links and a butterfly clasp which is much better than what Vostok had done up to then. This Vostok GMT is 41 millimeters in diameter by 15 millimeters in height, and this one costs around $70 when you go to Vostok Inc. And the quality feels better than what you're used to on the Amphibias. From Russia, let's get back to China, and let's talk about a watch that impressed me greatly, and this is the Escapement Time FLIEGER. This watch has everything for itself. I believe I called it the best value on AliExpress. So here you've got blued hands, you've got an amazing dial with BGW9 lume, and you've got a very strange thing for a FLIEGER. You've got 300 meters of water resistance, meaning that in theory you can dive with these no problem. You've also got blued hands. I'm not saying blue, I'm saying thermally blued hands, which is very expensive to make. You've got sapphire crystal, and you've got a Seiko NH35. Like the aesthetic of a FLIEGER is supposed to be, here you've got a pretty large case at 42 millimeters in diameter by 12.5 millimeters in height. I believe it's the only one that comes at a little bit above $100. And I'm sorry, I had to cheat a little bit here, but trust me, this one really does deserve. Let's stay in China with the STEELDIVE WILLARD HOMAGE. And this is a homage of the famous Seiko WILLARD from the 1970s. This impressed me very much for the quality of what was on offer, especially regarding the finishing of the watch. You've got a sapphire crystal again, you've got a Seiko NH35 again, and you've got a very nice aesthetic for this watch with everything that is well polished and well brushed. A very, very good choice if you're nostalgic of that era. And here you're looking at around $90, give or take. The dimensions, as should be, are pretty big for this watch, but that is totally natural. You're looking at 44 millimeters in diameter by 13.5 millimeters in height. But don't worry, because that 47 millimeter in lug-to-lug will make it that it wears good on most wrists. And for the last watch, let's end up where we began, in Japan, with the same brand, of course, as Seiko, the Seiko SNK 357. And this is another little Seiko 5. Why do I say little? Because it is only 37 millimeters in diameter, and I like this one very much because of its beautiful dial with the Seiko 5 motif all over. You've got three colors on this one. You've got the black, you've got the blue, which is this reference, and you've got the white. I believe that the blue is the more striking. That is why I am referring you to this one. Here you've got the same problems and benefits that you've got with the Seiko 5 Military. You've got that 7S26 movement. And here, if you cannot find it on Amazon for a decent price, you're just around the $100 mark on creation watches. If you have any more watches that should have, according to you, been on this top 10, don't hesitate to put them on the description below. And if one of these watches rings your fancy, don't hesitate to use one of the links below to go ahead and check them out. And of course, before you do, check the reviews of those watches, because most of them I have reviewed on this channel. That's it from me. Thank you again, and I'll be seeing you very soon, possibly on one of those videos. Goodbye.